Hey, thanks for tuning into Explosive Review. This is part 4 of getting into paintball. Alright, so you're starting to look like you actually know what you're doing now a little bit. Got your mask, got your gloves, got your new hopper right over here, got your pod pack on with a few pods in it, and you've been out to play, saved up a little bit more money, and you're ready to make the leap. You're ready to fully get into paintball, and this is going to be probably the biggest and most important purchase that you're going to make, which is your gun and your tank. Now, some people will recommend that you buy your tank first before you actually get your gun. However, that's not usually something that I recommend. I'm going to show you why in a few minutes. Now, everybody will have a different opinion on what the best guns are for getting into paintball, first guns. However, it's going to depend a lot on your personal preference and as well your budget. There's a big range in terms of pricing. Everything from $100 all the way up to $2,000 for just a gun. So you're going to have to decide. I don't usually recommend that you dump $2,000 into a gun right when you get into paintball. It's usually not advisable. I'm going to make a few personal recommendations on what I think are good starter guns in the lower price range, and then we can talk a little bit more about upgrading from there. So, first guns that I'm going to talk about that you're probably going to see and hear a lot about is Tippmann. Now, there's a lot of people who hate on Tippmann. They say, oh, they're stupid guns and they're for noobs and they're terrible because they're terrible. Not true at all. Tippmann has developed an excellent reputation, and they're so well known because they manufacture excellent guns. They're very simple. There's not a whole lot of moving parts to them. They're all just mechanical, which is great. And they are built like tanks. Breaking a Tippmann is very, very difficult to do without some serious abuse. My first two guns were Tippmanns. My very first gun was a Tippmann 98 Custom, and my second gun was a Tippmann A5. And to be honest, I had zero problems with any of those guns, and I owned them for many years. So, excellent guns. They're widely available at everywhere from Walmart all the way up to pro shops. So very good guns. Excellent for starting out. You can upgrade them if you want. However, I'd say that there's very few upgrades for those guns that are actually worth it. Usually they just make them work worse than what they did before. So a stock Tippmann A5 is going to work just amazing. So really excellent guns for a starter. So don't listen to the people who say that they're stupid and they're garbage. They're not. They're really good guns and an excellent place to start out. Another company that I really like for just a very simple mechanical starter gun is a company called Mokel. Now, not very many people are going to know about this company. It's actually based out of Ontario, Canada, where I live. And it is the gun that we use for all of our rentals at the field where I work. Now, there's a few reasons that I like them. A, they're extremely reliable. They pretty much never break, to be honest with you. And if they do, it's because they've been pretty much destroyed. So really good guns. They're so simple to take apart. Literally, you unscrew one thing, it's out. You can service all the parts inside just by removing that one screw. So that's a really nice feature as well. And there's not really any upgrades for them. It's pretty much a standalone, take it as it is gun. But they work really well, and they're in a very affordable price range. So if you just want something that you can own and take out there, to be honest, any gun that you own and take care of and that hasn't had 100 renters putting sand through it is going to work a lot better than the rental gun at the field, even if it's the exact same gun. As well, you can chronograph it properly, all that good stuff. So those are sort of two very basic gun recommendations that I like. Once you get up out of the very baseline stuff, you've got a lot more options, and really it's going to depend on the style of play that you want to do. For people first getting into it, I usually recommend a semi-automatic mechanical gun. I tell them to stay away from electro, just because when something breaks in an electronic gun, it's broken. You're probably going to have to take it to somebody unless you really, really know what you're doing. Not that they break all that often. As well, you're generally going to go through a lot more paint just because you're going to end up being more trigger happy, and they generally cost a lot more money to get a decent one. I really don't like the cheaper electro guns. I just don't think that they work that well. So that's where I recommend starting off. It was just a simple mechanical gun. You can also buy a pump, but keep in mind that once you buy a pump, you're stuck with a pump. They can be great for limiting the amount of paint that you consume in a day, but as well, if you're not 100% sure that pump is what you want to do, then probably stay away. Mechanical is a nice middle ground. You take it out of the box, you put air into it, and it's going to work all day without any problems. You don't need to worry about batteries running out, any of that. If you buy a good, reliable mechanical, you're going to spend more time playing and less time fooling around with your gun, which is not really what anybody wants to be doing when they go out to the field to play. So, let me show you what I was talking about with the tanks. Now, there's a few different styles of tanks that you can choose as well. You have your basic, what is usually called a steel tank. They come in different sizes, usually 48 cubic inch is the most common. And these guys are just a very basic. They're a little bit cheaper, but they're going to work fine for you, and they usually hold 3,000 psi worth of air. The step up from here would be a carbon fiber tank. Now these are a lot lighter, and they generally hold 4,500 psi, so you're actually going to get more air into the same size of tank, but they're usually, I'd say, at least double the price, but still a worthwhile investment. And you can get tanks in all different sizes, ranging from behemoths like this that are giant. This is a 68 cubic inch, all the way down to these little tiny guys here. So lots of different size options when it comes to tanks. Tanks is going to sort of dictate based on your budget what kind of a tank you want to go with. But I'm going to show you what I was talking about, why you should wait until you're buying your first gun to get your tank. So the reason that I say that is, let's pretend that you got a gun that was roughly shaped like this. Now, you're never going to get this gun because this is one of one. But let's say that you had gone out and you bought this little guy because you liked it. And now you're throwing it onto the new gun that you bought. And suddenly you realize this tank is tiny and that your gun is sitting in at your face like this. This isn't what you would want for this gun. It's too small of a tank. It's not going to be reasonable to play with. So what you want to do is match the size of your tank to your gun so that when you're using it, that it sits at the correct distance, a comfortable distance from your body. So I happen to know with this tank, I like to use a 68 cubic inch tank with a longer regulator on it. I'm 6'4", so I've got a fairly long reach. But if you look now, the gun sits out at the correct distance from my body so that it's easier to point, move around with, all that kinds of stuff. So you want to size your tank to the gun that you're using. If I had a gun where the trigger frame was sitting further back, I might want to use that little tank. But for this particular gun, a longer tank just pushes the gun out the right distance from my body. So size your tank to your gun. If you pick up a carbon fiber or even a steel tank, it's always a good idea to put a tank cover on it. It's going to help protect it from chipping, damage, that sort of thing, which you definitely want to do because it's going to keep your tank in good shape and make sure that it passes its hydro testing. Speaking of which, I'm going to show you, if you're ever buying a used tank, how to identify if it's still good. Now, if you're getting into paintball, some people might try and scam you with tanks that are out of hydro and charge you for them the same amount that they would for non. So if you look on the tank, there's going to be some writing there. And one of the writings, you're going to see two numbers generally divided by a little triangle. Now on this one, it says 0907. So what that means is that this tank was born on the 9th month of 2007. And tanks are good for 5 years after they were produced until you have to retest them, which will certify them for another 5 years. So this tank is actually out of hydro. And it went out of hydro in the 9th month of what would be 2012. So it's been out for a little while now. So that's how you check as well. If you're in Canada, you need to make sure that your tank has a TC stamp on it as well as a DOT stamp. Those are the two certifications. In the US, you only need DOT. In Canada, you need TC and DOT. So those are a few things to check if you're ever buying a tank used off of Kijiji or anything like that, to make sure that you don't get ripped off and that you know exactly what you're getting into. So to recap here, go to your local pro shop, try out a few guns in your price range, even go around at the local field, see if you can try shooting a few different guns. That's always a great way to decide if you like them. Ask people, they're generally more than happy to let you test out the gun. Just tell them that you're new and that you're looking to buy maybe that gun, and they'll usually let you shoot it no problem. Just give them back whatever paint you happen to use. Find a gun that's comfortable in your hands, that you like and that you know that you're going to be happy with, because that's what matters. In the end, it's not what I say, it's not what anyone else says, it's whether you enjoy your gun and whether you like going out every day that you play with that gun, which is what you want, okay? You're also going to want to pick up a barrel bag when you're at the shop, because always safety first. I usually say pick up a few extras while you're there. You might lose them. It's always good to have a couple in the gear bag, loan them out to somebody who forgot theirs. So barrel bags, always want to have one of those on your gun. You've got your gravity fed hopper, so that's all good. You're all set. You don't really need to worry about upgrading quite yet. My recommendation is to pick up a mechanical gun, so that's just going to work without any hassle when you go to the field. And then of course, size match your tank to the gun that you have, so it's comfortable for you to point in your hands, and it's the right distance away from your body, not stretched out, not weighing at your face, something comfortable, because that's what's most important when you're out there on the field, a gun that works and one that is ergonomic for you to shoot. This has been Explosive Review. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and comment.